Our keynote speaker tonight is Mr. Deepak Chopra, President and CEO of Canada Post. Let's welcome Mr. Deepak Chopra to the stage to give a speech.
Honorable Minister McCallum, Minister Chan, Consul General, Mayor Scarpiti, the honorary member of the Chinese community, Mr. Choi, Mr. Lee, members of the board, entrepreneurs, especially the entrepreneurs that have been nominated tonight, and fellow Canadians. I'm incredibly honored to be invited to talk about Canada Post's transformation story. And when I first received the call from the advisory board, I called Royson back. Are you sure you want Canada Post, 253-year-old, slow-moving Crown Corporation, talking about transformation to young, dynamic, fast-moving businesses? So Royson called me back. He said, yes, we still want Canada Post to come. The reason we want to hear from Canada Post is because my son has started a new entrepreneurial venture, and he uses Canada Post. And all this time I thought Canada Post was for us and our parents' generation. And that's probably the best compliment we could have received after the 5-year journey that we have been on. In a very fundamental sense, the difference between an entrepreneur and a large company is not that much. But on the other hand, it's a vast difference. As an entrepreneur, you can make all the decisions, you can sign all the checks, you can even say no to anybody you feel like. And even when people are telling you your business idea sucks, you keep going. In a big business, same energetic people join in, and very quickly they start to adapt to the so-called unwritten culture. So the same energy and excitement that they would do outside, they'll volunteer, they'll have a business on the side, but the moment you start with a large company, you start to follow the rules because you want to fit in. And therein lies the challenge, because everybody in the large company thinks it's someone else's problem to innovate. It's someone else's responsibility to be creative. And especially if you're a very large company like Canada Post, you think there's a department for innovation that'll take care of innovation. And Canada Post today has $8 billion revenue, 65,000 employees. We have 3 major brands, Canada Post, Purolator, and SCI Logistics, that are today the backbone of the transportation and logistics economy. But 5 years ago, when I joined Canada Post, mail volumes had already declined by 1 billion mail pieces, and were declining at a rate of 6%. About a $3 billion business, 6% is $180 million. And if you have a cost structure of about $6 billion, and your costs go up by 2%, inflation, that's $120 million. So when we opened our doors, the year is going to be losing $300 million. And you keep doing that for 5 years, 6 years, you're now talking billions of dollars of losses. So how do you take the situation, that the cards that you've been dealt with, and turn it into something like this? As of December 31st, we became the #1 parcel company in the country. And the #2 is Purolator, interestingly. We had set a plan to transform the company and be profitable in 5 to 6 years. We became profitable in 2014. We'll soon be announcing our results for 2015, and we hope to continue. 450 million times Canadians track their packages on Canada Post website or on the smartphone app. Our app has been #1 app in the top 10 list on the iStore for business apps for 3 years running. And I'll give you a couple of examples of what our customers think we are doing. The Chief Operating Officer of Clearly Contacts, the #1 contact lens and eyeglass company, and this is the online-only company. She was interviewed by the Report on Business, And she said, and I quote, "Canada Post have transformed themselves into a technology company with some very slick things to offer." The director of Best Buy's multi-channel commented, "The service, which included weekend delivery during the Christmas rush, is based on a mastery of logistics that some would have once thought unimaginable from Canada Post. We could choose any carrier, but they deliver to every postal code in our country and every address, and also have thousands of post offices where customers can pick up the parcel if you're not home." So, how do you make an elephant dance? It's not unique. All large companies, there are a lot of large banks and telephone companies and insurance companies in the room, and you know, the moment you transfer the responsibility to innovate to someone else, you start dying. You don't necessarily grow. I'll give you three small examples in the short time I have today of how we have reignited the transformational agenda at Canada Post. 5 years ago when I started, one of the areas that we were looking to rationalize was a small innovation lab because we had too many functions and IT areas focused on innovation, and it would have been easy to consolidate that and forget about it. There was a proposal on my desk, let's rationalize this. And I decided to meet those 4 or 5 people who were working on some innovation. And I asked them, "What are you working on?" They said, "We're working on developing an iPhone app for Canada Post. But we don't have the funding, and we bring our own personal iPhones to work. So all we need is $30,000 and a company-issued iPhone, and we want to finish our first iPhone app." This is what happens in a large company when someone who is trying to do something really amazing is hidden up in the basement somewhere and is lost in the proposals that are all piling up for some sort of rationalization because you're losing money. I gave them the $30,000 and company-issued iPhones, and within months, we had hundreds of thousands of downloads. Today, we have over 1.5 million Canadians are carrying the post office in their pocket on a smartphone. You can track your packages, you can order postage, you can order picture postage stamps, look up the postal code, find the nearest post office. That innovation would have never happened had I not stumbled onto this small team that was innovating like entrepreneurs. We had entrepreneurial spirit, but it's very hard to uncover and find. So when you become bigger, the trick is learn how to stay small in your thinking, in your approach to business, in your ideas. The second example I'll give you is Shopify 5 years ago was a very small company. And some of you may know they have done the single largest, probably Canada's first $1 billion IPO last year. I met Harley, who was their chief platform officer 5 years ago. They had a small office in a market in Ottawa. And he talked about the pain that small businesses were going through when it came to shipping product. He said, "We have a great website, you can order product, you can show the pictures and pricing, but when it comes to shipping, it is a very cumbersome process. And many people don't know how to go about doing it, they don't know the rules and regulations. Can we work together to integrate your shipping engine into our checkout?" Now try doing this in an $8 billion company with 7 layers, legal department, finance department, and everybody else having a point of view. And I made the mistake of telling them, let's follow the process. 6 months later, he picked the phone and yelled at me. He said, "Look, if I follow the process, I'll be dead before you guys do anything. So either you're going to place some bets that may not be sure today, or you're going to not play in the market." We made the bet to partner with them 5 years ago. Now there are 40,000 small businesses who use Canada Post to ship product without even knowing, because we have a seamless integration on the checkout, from payment to shipping, even to returns. So the story here really is the story of the success of Shopify that brought us, sometimes even kicking, screaming, to the e-commerce platforms that we were not focused on. And since then, we have partnered with so many platforms, Canada's top 25 retail partners use the platforms that have full integration. And the third example I want to talk about is the launch of our e-commerce innovation awards. In fact, I just met Joshua. He was one of the finalists last year on the e-commerce innovation awards. Every year we ask for nominations from up-and-coming businesses to identify talent and business models that are really breaking through the barriers and setting up Canada's digital economy. 4 years ago, we had our first awards, and we identified some businesses. And an example I'll give you of a small business in Whitby, Ontario called Shirt Punch, shirtpunch.com. They were one of the winners. They got $50,000 in free shipping. And this entrepreneur used that money to start a new business called NerdBlock. NerdBlock.com is the fastest growing nerd collection items gift box that you get every month if you subscribe. And they're becoming, in fact, the largest player in the US market as well. They are today a multi-million-dollar customer for Canada Post. When I first met them, his mom used to do packing of 7 t-shirts or 8 t-shirts a day and sometimes in a week from her garage in Whitby, and they were getting started. Identifying that creative idea and giving them the support has led to him becoming a multi-million-dollar customer for Canada Post, let alone their own revenue. The second example is Well.ca. Well.ca was also a small winner in our first awards. Ali Azaria he lost his job at BlackBerry about 7-8 years ago, and he started sitting at his father's pharmacy in Guelph, Ontario. He picked up some of the items from the pharmacy, put them online, and started selling. He wanted to grow his business, but no one wanted to give him $5,000 credit so he could ship regular basis and get paid, and we collect the money on a monthly basis. Canada Post was the first company that gave him $5,000 credit. This company is now a $300 million revenue and a multi-million-dollar customer for Canada Post. So there are many, many other winners over the years. Manitoba Mucklucks, Poppy Barley, Snake and Lattes, 10 Tree. 10 Tree is a small company in Saskatchewan that plants 10 trees for every t-shirt they sell to their customers. Shelfies. The most weird pictures that you take, you can turn them into t-shirts. There are subscription models. So the journey of Canada Post transformation is not about finding 2 or 3 large customers like Amazon and Walmart. We welcome those customers. Those are great customers for Canada Post. But the thousands of merchants that are shipping on eBay, Amazon, Best Buy, marketplaces, those are the ones that are driving Canada Post transformation. And the biggest thing we had to focus on was not about just the sender side of the equation. We are the only business that has 2 customers, a sender and a receiver. Sender pays for it, and the receiver just needs convenience. And we focused a lot of attention on customer convenience. In fact, we opened our first concept store in Richmond Hill 6 months ago with North America's first drive-through and 24/7 operation. And we introduced Flex Delivery, which allows you to declare any postal address as your shipping address. 40% of Canadians are not home during daytime. And if you can have your product shipped to an address of your choice, the most hated part of Canada Post is when you come home and you have a door knocker waiting at your door saying, "Sorry, we missed you, we tried to deliver a parcel." We're going to transform that into an electronic notification in the coming months. Already with Flex Delivery, we have changed the convenience for receivers. So the journey for us has been really 2-pronged. One, focus on customer convenience relentlessly, everything we do. And second, light up those small entrepreneurial fires within the company. Create those opportunities. In fact, one of the best things a leader can do in a large organization is to make it exciting for people to come to work. If you're excited, you're going to have ideas, and you have to create a mechanism where when you become big, and many of you are going to become big, that you don't lose sight of those ideas that happen at the front line. Those pain points that a customer experiences when they show up and their parcel is not there. So our journey has been very much inspired by the entrepreneurs in this room and continues to be inspired by the entrepreneurs that are yet to be in this room. So not only we thank you for your business, not only we thank you for the journey you've traveled with us, but you have been, in fact, the greatest inspiration to turn Canada Post into a profitable #1 parcel company in the country. Thank you very much.